3 of the nation's capitals have been ranked among the 10 most unaffordable global cities. Keith, what hope is there going to be for younger Australians to buy a home, get into the market after they've seen these sort of figures, which shows Adelaide is 9th and Sydney 2nd in unaffordability. I mean, Adelaide's in that top 10. Now, what is going on, and what is the LNP going to do to help break this sort of cycle of unaffordability at the next election? This seems to be the key to getting the youth vote.
Absolutely. It certainly is a massive issue out there. And talking to a lot of young people within my electorate, I know Brisbane isn't quite on the top 3 list there, but luckily we're a little bit further down, but still concerningly unaffordable out in my neck of the woods. And certainly a lot of young people that I'm talking to are talking about the fact that they've basically given up on the ability to own their own home. And I think that's a terrible thing. You know, I come from the party of Robert Menzies, who talked about in the Forgotten People speech about the importance of home ownership and the importance of giving Australians that stake in the country. And I think it's really important that governments turn their mind to how we're actually going to address this. And it's not about pumping demand. It's got to be about finding new ways to boost supply. We are globally unaffordable now. That's official. Those numbers demonstrate that. We need to find ways to boost supply. It's about investing in infrastructure. It's about lowering property taxes. It's about getting onto councils and ensuring that they get those approvals done. And I want to see more of that from LNP oppositions, creating those policies as we head towards the next elections, both at the state level and the federal level.
And Chris, we've seen some really interesting solutions proposed in the media, along with all of this stuff about supply and taxes and things like that. There's even been a veteran today who proposed giving people who sign up for the ADF, where we know there's a big recruitment crisis, 50 grand, bang, cash on the barrel to help them buy a house. Is this a 2 birds with 1 stone solution, or is that just a little too pat, Christy?
Look, I'm not an advocate or a fan of that policy just because I don't think it's going to work. I think in this precarious global environment that we're operating geopolitically, I don't think there's a lot of young people who would see the upside tipped in favour of getting $50,000. I think there's a lot of young people out there, though, who would like to access their super at a time of life of which they have that available and make sure it's paid back into, as is the Coalition's policy. But I will say that there is absolutely no pathway back to victory for the Coalition if it does not promote its superannuation access policy to young people in teal seats. Because parents are also worried about their children. And I say children, but I mean people under 40, 35 to 40, who can't afford property, who can't afford to live in the neighbourhood that they grew up with or nearby their family. And because of that, they're delaying having families because they don't have that economic structure of owning a home around them, which they feel quite rightly, is the most appropriate environment for them to go forth and have a family within. So it is a real issue, and it has to be hammered home to people in teal seats, not just the outer suburbs.
And Henry, let's go back to Queensland, your home state there. Opposition leader David Crisafulli with a bold new proposal to say that if a young couple, they're building their first home, it's buying their first home, and they build it, no stamp duty. That's going to save tens of thousands of dollars potentially. How much is the state's addiction to stamp duty helping to cruel the hopes of so many people trying to get into the market? And what do you make of the opposition's policy there? Obviously, I suppose you're going to be in favor of that one.
I am going to be in favour of it. You'd be surprised to hear, James. But I think it's broader than just that. I mean, getting rid of stamp duty for first home buyers who are going to buy a new home is, I think, a really strong message to send to first home buyers. But getting rid of stamp duty, broader than that, it's not just about first home buyers. If we can sort of lower the level of stamp duty across the board, across states, then we could see a lot more older people decide to, get into a property that might be for the right size for their retirement and free up more stock in the housing market. But what I was particularly pleased about today with the Coalition's policy that they've announced in the budget reply up here in Queensland was a big fund to help local governments build that sort of trunk infrastructure that they need to actually boost supply. We can't currently, where the suburbs are rolling out into new areas, we just haven't got the infrastructure. And I think it's a really important announcement today from David Crisafulli and his team, and I think it'll be really well received by aspiring first home buyers, particularly in southeast Queensland.
Well, you guys are in the box seat to win that election, so we might get to see how that plays out. Henry Pike, Christy McSweeney, thank you so much for your time.